So I wasn't gonna make this video, but I got sort of nervous making videos sometimes. But I saw an article in the New York Times recently talking about suicides and how they had been up, and it had been correlated. They correlated it with downturns in the economy. It happened in the 70s with gas prices, the gas crisis in the 70s. Happened a little bit sometimes in the 80s, and it happened with the downturn in 2001, the economic downturn, and now it's happening again. Apparently, suicides are up with the most recent downturn. But I wondered how much this had to do. Actually, I'm sure that economic forces play a role in it also, but I think that gun ownership actually plays just as much of a significant role in it. There haven't been studies, official government studies at least, about gun control related to suicides or accidental deaths in households, because the NRA has campaigned vigorously to make sure no such studies get done. But if you look at the same downturns and the upticks of suicides, a lot of it does seem to correlate with higher gun purchases. The 70s, I guess I could contribute that maybe to the Dirty Harry movie. A lot of people were worried that the economic downturn of the 70s might cause more crime. People were afraid crime getting out of control. A lot of people went out and bought the 44 Magnum, the most powerful gun in the world. Blow your head clean off, as it, I'm sure, did with many people. It wasn't the head that they were planning on initially, but it was probably their own head, unfortunately. So that was the 70s, and then again in the just right after the 2000s, when Charlton Heston from the NRA famously held up his gun and said, "From my cold dead hands, Mr. Gore," as in 2000. So a lot of people were afraid that Gore would take their guns away for some reason. They went out and bought a bunch of guns. Next year, many more suicides. Then again, people were afraid that Obama was going to take their guns away, so they went out and bought many more guns despite the economic downturn. Stocks like Smith & Wesson were up, up, up. And at the time, I predicted there's going to be a lot more suicides and gun crimes in the next couple of years. And I was absolutely correct on that one. So I think that actual gun ownership is just as much of a cause of suicides as economic downturns. There's been other economic downturns when people didn't buy as many guns, and not as many people committed suicide. In fact, I think gun ownership is tapering off a little bit now, if only because of the economy. People don't want to have hundreds of extra dollars to spend on guns, or if they did, they already spent it. So I predict in the next couple of years that despite the economy still being down, we won't see as many suicides, hopefully. As I said, I wasn't going to make this video. I almost made it, but then I decided not to. But then I clicked on the news and I saw that a Marine about my age, a tiny bit older, Clay Hunt, age 28, he was an advocate against suicide. He locked himself in his apartment and he shot himself. It's too bad. I don't think that Clay Hunt would have committed suicide if he didn't have a gun. People always say, "Oh yeah, and half the gun deaths in America are people who shot themselves," and people could use a rope, people could use a knife and stuff, but that's not really how it works. People usually, it's pretty hard to actually slit your wrist or actually hang yourself. You have to be pretty committed. Whereas with a gun, just put it at your head, pull the trigger, that's it. And there's other statistics supporting that kind of evidence. For example, women attempt suicide a lot more often than men, a lot more often, but men actually commit suicide and succeed at dying much more often than women. The reason men succeed so much more often than women is because men usually use guns and women don't. They use pills or whatever and they're not successful. And most people who do commit suicide and survive are very happy that they survived later on. And I'm sure that if Clay Hunt did not have a gun and didn't succeed in killing himself just the other day, he would have been very happy to be alive in the next couple of years. But since he had a gun, he shot himself in the head, and that's the end of that. Too bad. No disrespect to Clay Hunt. I wish he were still with us. Seemed like a really good guy. So I guess I would advocate, if you have mental issues, which is understandable if you've come back from Iraq, or mental issues from other things, one part of being a truly responsible gun owner is maybe getting rid of your guns. If either you have children in the house who you can't really rely on, or if you don't feel like you're 100% mentally there yourself, having a gun not in your house can actually save your life and possibly the lives of others. It's debatable whether the people who have guns in their house are more likely to die than, or have a family member die accidentally, than they are to actually save one of their family members' lives by an intruder coming in their house. I'm reminded of the hilarious Onion article talking about every man has a right to a gun for personal defense and possibly suicide, which it noted something along the lines of, suppose a drug-fueled maniac came into your house and kicked down your door in the middle of the night. Would you want to be unarmed? Of course not. What if nobody ever came in your house? And even though they don't live that far away and could easily stop in and say hello, but they never do. Would you want to be without a gun then? I didn't think so. And so that's sort of the humor side. But a lot of people, unfortunately, when a gun's there and they're very depressed, they attempt suicide and they succeed, because not very many people fail at committing suicide if they have a gun. So yeah, if you're inclined towards that, you have issues, you have kids, I would recommend, part of being a responsible gun owner is sometimes actually not having a gun. Might save your life. Maybe this video save your life. And I guess that's it. Comment if you want. Actually, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of nasty comments about this, but don't care that much. Trying to help some people out. And that's it.